Hello, welcome to our talk of the year, our fourth evening talk here at Mike's Dive. As we all know, I'm Kat. I'm the Dive manager, store manager. I've been saying that wrong the whole day. Anyway, and tonight we have Barnes from the Yorkshire Seal Group here. Talk to us about Yorkshire seals, UK seals, I reckon a little bit. So anything seal related, who doesn't love a seal? Like they're the best things ever. Quite fun, I can relate. But Matt is at Yorkshire Seal Group. So he's the spearheaded it all. He does everything with all in Yorkshire, obviously. But Matt also diving instructor. He's a master. He works at the moment. He works at a dive here in London. However, he has now just taken a really cool in Finland. He's going to be working at conservation of a 800-mile stretch coastline. Yeah, super exciting. Spreading the word. So I hope you guys enjoy.
Thank you. Brilliant. Okay, guys, so thanks for having me along. Thanks, Kat, for a little intro there. I'll pop, hoping you'll hear me. So today's talk is really formal, so you can ask any question throughout it. And I'm basically going to go through sort of a whole tour of everything about how I got into it, okay, biology of sealology and some of the don't feel like you can't engage with me if you do the tour. First thing, Kat, can you change the first slide? A bit about myself quickly, and my partner, Neve, who has also shown pictures. So I myself started the Yorkshire Seal Group ago. So think about seal groups in the UK. There's one umbrella group, which is called the Seal Alliance, and the Seal Alliance, lots of things included organisations you've heard of, like British Divers Marine Life Rescue, Cornwall Seal Group Research Trust, etc., etc. And the Yorkshire Seal Group, one of those founding members. The Seal Alliance to seals about probably 12 through the British Divers Marine Life Rescue, and actually work 12 years ago as well. I was really a dive instructor, as Kat alluded to, and I used to manage Dive London. I used to actually dive to next door to this building about 2006, so many, many years ago now. And then I moved from diving into conservation just for a dedication in the marine environment, and I wanted to evolved. I haven't studied at a young age conservation or anything like that. I went into the army at 16, so I had to then learn how to study and go to university. Now I'm in my mid-40s and I managed to go to Oxford University and study ecological techniques, environmental conservation, and then about 5 years ago I finished a postgraduate thesis in anthrozoology, which is a bit of a weird title. Anthrozoology is basically anything that's human and non-human animal interactions. So that could be anything from a guide dog through blood sports, wildlife conflict, and more dramatic stuff. So I specialise in seal disturbance, and that's what my dissertation was in. And that's because we founded the group based on the disturbance to the colonies up in Yorkshire. My partner also works in seals as well. We've worked as senior rehabilitators over in Seal Island, which is the only seal rescue facility. So they don't have lots of centres like we do with Aquaria, RSPC, that sort of. So it's one centre in Ireland out there rehabilitating seals. So that's with one seal bathtub, trying to teach fish here at fish school with lit fish string. And these are some other pictures with obviously a lot of public, etc. And doing a bit of tube feeding situ when out. So both of us seals, and that's how we moved on to the Yorkshire. So at the moment, I've rescued 400 personally and do a lot with seals. And this is probably one of my most inactive periods at the moment, being based in London. I'm looking forward to relocating back to Scotland, where I used to live, and getting my hands dirty again. Don't claim to be an expert, but I know a fair bit, so hopefully I'll be able to answer your questions. But as we're all learning about seals. Thanks, Kat. So I wanted to go, I don't know how much you guys know, and normally I've got a demographic with regards to prior knowledge of seals. So I wanted to go through a bit about the dicks. So we've got the group pinnipeds. When we about our three groups, if I say to you guys, ocelots, mountain lions, cougars, what would the family group be? Feline, yeah, so I'd be felines. If I was thinking coyotes, dingoes, those sorts of things, I'd be thinking about the canine family. So pinnipeds is basically the name for all our seals, sea lions, and walruses. There are three main groups. So phocids, otarids, and obonids. The main one we're concerned about this evening is are phocids. These are seals. The easiest way to recognize them, I guess, from a physiological perspective, when you're trying to differentiate them, is seals don't have any ears. So if you're thinking about like a Cape seal or a Dian indigo or something like that, you'll see the ears on them. So obviously got ears, but there's nothing on this side really high dynamic. Seals, as I mentioned, we have here not too much of a concern for us. And then we've got bonids and walruses, a little bit because we do get walruses in the UK, and we did have a walrus recently with my team up in Yorkshire, but they're obviously what we call vagrant, they get lost here. There's around 7 species of phocids, in the world, and we have around 7 of them that could be seen in the UK, but there's really only 2 main types of seal that we're focused on this evening, and that is the common seal, or the harbour seal as it's sometimes referred to, and grey seal. Like I said, I'll mention a bit about the walrus. We do get as well, only last we had a ringed seal that washed up in Cornwall, was alive, but sadly has passed. So that's got a team, I think, at Zoological Society, maybe, for a necropsy or a post-mortem to try out the causes of that. So we get ring seals and other things. I'm be stuck with ring seals or harp seals or thing like that, though. Thanks, Kat. So what makes a seal? You can bring up the next pictures, actually, Kat. So normally when we're doing these talks, we do a lot of curriculum and education linked with, you can bring up all 4 pictures, Kat. Perfect, thank you. We do a lot of curriculum-linked education in primary schools and secondary schools, and we try to link it in with topics they're studying. So what we normally do is we normally bring in adaptation, the word that we use, because kids are learning about mammals in primary school, and more characteristics that make up a mammal. For you guys being an adult audience, you'll get exactly the things that make up a mammal. What do we all share in common with mammals, if any of them? Honey, sorry. Fur. Yeah, that's not the only thing for mammals, though. Live birth. Yeah, so live birth. So we give birth to live young. Warm blood. Yeah. No one's sounding very comfortable, sounding very scared. Warm-blooded. Then what do we feed our young on? Milk. Yeah. So there'll be mammary and lactate involved, and there'll be some sort of weaning process. And they're all bothered in. Yeah, depending on how hairy we are. Those are the things that come. Those are the things that we show with seals. If you think about our seals themselves, our grey seals and our common seals are pretty harsh environments. These seals are the region where they live is constantly by waves, the North Sea, the English Channel's a little bit. And most seals, more than 60% of them live north in Scotland, and Scotland is a law unto itself with mini climate systems always badgering the. When we think about physical features of a seal and how it adapts to that environment, so the adaptation, things we need to think is their fur. We sometimes a pelage. Some of the work use basically can actually seal their pelage. So it's very, very through catalogues and re-site individuals. This fur got a great water element under it, and underneath that fur, looking at about 2 inches of, and that blubber is really, really important for our temperatures. If we were to go into now, the temperature's about 14 degrees in the sea, something like that. We would need exposure protection, which is available from Mike's Dive Store. Now he'll help you out and sort you out after. Got a seal, they've got to live in it time. They're in it 24/7. We've obviously the dens, the sort of the dentistry of it. So I've got a skull here, which I'm going to pass around. With the I'm saying, Brad, what does the word fragile mean? As I hand it. Please don't drop my skull or it will smash. This skull is of juvenile grey seal that sadly died. It's about 11 months old, the seal. The size of the skull. One thing when we're talking about the skull and sort of carnivores in general is looking at what common features they have. So if we were thinking about what I call our dims, sometimes known as our herbivores, they normally have eyes on the side of their head because they're always looking around as pack animals waiting to see what's predating on them. For a predator, you're normally at forward-facing eyes, a bit like us as humans, okay? Because obviously looking out for what we could hunt or forage. So forward-facing eyes. And when we look at the dentistry, Cat introduces being really, really cute. And obviously they are cute, and you've tried to rescue one, and then you realise that they're absolutely terrifying we have here in the UK. So some really serious dentistry here on the 9, and you'll see all the rearward facing. So rearward facing helps to latch on to prey, swallow it down. So it's not grinding, it hasn't got the flappers at the back, it's literally hooking, hook line instead down quick as it passes round, so you runs onto a seal and it's like Obviously, onto the seal there, on the nose, we've got what we call the goose or the brisset. And the wings are extremely sensitive, and they'll use these for hunting in pretty much zero views. So as divers, we're always looking around. There's 10 viz, there's 20 meters. Go to the Maldives, go to wherever you're going. For seals, it doesn't matter if it's Turkey, Thames, doesn't matter where it is, using their vibrator for vibrations in the substrate, and that's where they can hunt. They can hunt completely blind, and even at some of the reef centres I've worked at, we've released one-eyed seals and stuff that cope really, really well. And ice is very consistent. And then here to what tells the grace to 25 knots, so that's nearly 50 miles an hour, so really fast. The way they move, they've got 2-inch claws at the end. The claws aren't retractable, so they'll use these to hop out onto rocky substrate. They don't get rest. And between these digits like us, they've all got a pretty considerable amount of webbing, like you'd expect for a water bird. Can push them along. Being hydrodynamic bullet is really important to a seal. So what else do you think might be hidden that might create drag? Your body. Your reproductive organs, well done, no one say it, yeah. Depending on how well endowed your reproductive organs could drag. So you'll see at the moment, Paris Olympics, everyone's wearing budgie smugglers, they're skinned down as much as they can just to get that extra speed. For a seal, to get inside. So for genitalia, that's a slit, so there'll be a slit and you can literally out when you wish. Put it away. And obviously for the ears as well, a big pair of lips also called drag as well. So you need to ear that are open water, but no ear like we have as humans. So these features help make a seal more to the north environment, the English Channel or the Irish Sea off our west coast. Cool. Next slide, please, Kat. So you guys know much about seals. Can I show like who knows differences in seals before I begin? Maybe 1, 2 of you. Okay. So these are 2 main types. We've got the grey seal. I'm going to show you some video talking all this, and this is going to help you distinguish between them, and I can even try and do the slides. But the seal is the most common seal. So although the name alludes to the common seal being common, the rarer of the species. So it's gone through a lot of years and very, very nice numbers. However, they bounced back a bit, but the common seal is the rarer of the two. Where I predominantly in Yorkshire, common seals make 1% of the seals that I have in Yorkshire. So it's nearly all greys in York. The grey seal here, what I've got here, just for sort of sexual dimorphism, I've got the male on the left and the female on the right. So you can start to tell the difference between the genders. The male, what we got, basically got a bulbous, what we call a Roman, so it basically forehead down to the nose. And the name actually translates as hook-nosed sea pig. That's what it translates. Very flattering for a seal. The female on the right-hand side here, she's got more of a cave patch. So it goes from the brow down to the end of the muzzle, basically in a little bit of a dip. So immediately you can tell the genders are on the grey seals quite easily. The males can be over 3 kilos in size. But they are formidable predators. When they're out of the water, they are literally the biggest carnivore we'd have in the UK. Pretty dangerous animal in my opinion. However, they are aquatic and terrestrial animals. By comparison, the common seal is a lot smaller. Sometimes people will use cat and dog comparison. Trying to identify, it's got more of an elongated dog, like an Alsatian or something like that, or a pit. You're probably going to be a grey seal. Look, you've mashed it in this with a frying pan. It's very squidge and looks more like a cat. Then that's going to be a common seal. You also have nostrils as well, the parrot on a grey seal, and the V-shaped common seal as well. Some people remember common, the sign, obviously like that, and they'll remember for ID purposes. When looking at the markings, the pelage markings on a common seal, it's a lot harder to identify down to an individual level because you have these amazing mottled markings on it. Whereas with the grey seal, it's more sporadic burst patterns, which means we can quite easily make shapes out of them. This springs to mind, princess, star, or name our seals based on what is obvious that people are going to be able to relate deal by. Obviously, you can use software as well. Sometimes you can use algorithms to try and spot things. They use that a lot for cheetah spots and stuff like that. But we will generally photo ID and simple visual cues. Much smaller than a grey seal. A seal is under 120 kilos, so a bit easier to rescue in. Generally, they occupy slightly different areas, but they can also cohabit as well and live in this area. Slightly different hunting as well, and slightly different prey sources. That is the grey seal and common seal in a nutshell. If a bit deeper into the next other common seal, so you can see them up close, either cuter of the species, a bit more sort of aesthetically what you'd expect a seal to look like. When they start off, the myth between a common seal and a grey seal is a common seal sheds its white coat in utero. So it's white inside the womb mother, in the cow, the pup itself, shed off its white fur. So it's born in its mottled coat. That means it's in waterproof pen, it can swim on day. You can have that pup on a sandbank on a, and by the time it's low tide, and by the time high tide again, it's swimming along by the mother. So much more robust initially, and helps survivability in early stages. And you can obviously see this time there suckling and weaning from its mother. And you can see it following her in the water there. Gorge themselves on the milk, and I'll talk about the milk is one of the highest fats in the animal kingdom. It's around 40%. So it's massively fattening. It's a very short weaning process. So they will sell in Yorkshire for about 17 to 20 days. It's the limit on maternal care. So if you think of human, when's a human independent? At 8 years old, it knows not to cross the road without knockdown, etc., etc. But it's normal a parent or guardian edge the nest at 6 years old or gone to university. So 17 to 21 if you're a grey seal or a cotter own. It's got to bulk really fast, and they can put on over 1 kilo in a day whilst they're suckling on that nutrient-rich fat. This is a juvenile, and you can see how much they balloon so quickly. The differences with seals is born in months, so in seal period now, and they can swim from birth. There are differences. This is a common seal, so when I play, what I want you as the audience to try to do, I want you to start thinking about what makes a healthy seal, because I talk a lot about disturbance and some of the they face. You need to know looking at to know animal is herald. And if I was to give you something more common to you, like a hedgehog, if a hedgehog rolled a ball in the garden, you know that's a defensive reaction on part of the animal. With seals, they're more cryptic. Suddenly you get these very small visual cues, and then before you know it, scuppered the sight and everything's trashed into the sea. So you've got to know how to for a healthy, happy seal. So the common seal here, I tell straight, V-shaped nostrils. Got round eyes there, we call these specks. So if you become a marine mammal medic with the divers rescue, you'll learn more of the eyes. Seals aren't consumed because they live in a saltwater environment. So all of the pressure they get comes from their prey source. So if they consume blood and the water inside the fish is what will hydrate the seal. So when a seal is dehydrated, it dies. When it's hydrated, it looks a bit like a panda. So we get these specks. So I'm looking at the seal that it's quite hydrated. It means it's probably had enough to eat as well because it's warm. I look at shape, a seal to be really rotund. Plus, if we talk to the NHS, if we get too big, it's bad in society. You know, we might get diabetes, health problems. With a seal, you can't really be fat enough because all that is gelatin, and it means you are shape. Actually, head sausage should be. Okay? So I start to zip lines, I start to see lines, or I start to see a nape, the collarbone up here. I know weight and mated, I might therefore have welfare concerns, and I might need to intervene with animal. If you can clip for me, Kat, hopefully it will show you a fairly healthy seal. The problem with this seal is seal disturbed, and it's disturbed. So that means the person having an advent on this animal, because all it really wants to do is have a kip. They want to kip for about 8 hours a day, just like us. Kipping is easiest on the land rather than bottom and trying to float on. However, the air of its surroundings feels a little bit uneasy. Not uneasy enough to be to the sea, but not. But that is a juvenile seal. It has like got all the it's going through a molt there. And then it will cut in a moment to an adult seal, and you'll see much larger. It's in a river. To see drift. And this one's the larger one. It'll pop out. The main thing on it. Oh, hang on a second. Come back out again. Look at say on it. Okay, that's what it's using is all those sensory bits. And look at its V-shaped nostril spread. Okay, again, it's in my footage. It's aware of the camera, obviously, and it might actuated this one because it looks almost like it's popped for food, so it could be taking an entry or something like that. Most of the footage will be mine, but that is not my footage. It's a good common seal, and it's a large seal as well. Much harder to tell gender between the common seal than it is with a concave or convex forehead. Okay, so the green seal by comparison, it grows up to be larger two seals and the more seal. Infancy, absolutely pretty useless to be honest. It's one in this lanugo. I've got a very small lanugo here. Pass around. I've got a little foil wrap here, which London is probably walk around. Capable thing, bug paralia. But inside here is just a shamrock, you know what I think it is. Okay. That's a small bit there of seal lanugo. So it's this lanugo, seen in the ground with a pattern. Lanugo real water, it's a bit more like, if you imagine if I put water, it becomes drenched. And it's not true that seals can't swim, but they swim quite ineffectively, okay? So you can see you've still got the umbilical cord attached, so it'll be less 72 hours old, this one here. Completely dependent on protection and everything. And again, in the life cycle here, or in the juvenile cycle here, you can see one at the top. Then you can start to see the transformation. This is how fat it's getting. You can start to see them being rotund. Suddenly I start seeing them hips. They lose around 40% of body weight in 20 days. She is all the milk that pup. Invested in that one pup. She compromises her own health, and then she's literally got nothing left to give. She's absolutely shattered, and she goes off and starts foreign feeding again. And that's when the maternal care stops. What pup into the sea is hunger. It waits around, and sometimes we've had pups wait for 5, 6, waiting for mum to return to give milk. They don't want to go to sea. They'll start nosing around on seaweed, suckling on rocks, doing everything they can to actually have to go and forage for themselves. So the mortality rate for seals is really high in their first year. Mortality rate where we are in Yorkshire, normally for a seal, it's around 50% of their first birthday. So 50% after they get to 1 year old. In Yorkshire, because of disturbance, human-caused disturbance, we lose 50% of our seals in the first 3 weeks, never in the first year. So it's a real action in the UK where people are doing seals. They need to be with mother. If I go up to mother now, she's threatened by me, that will elicit a flight or fight response. Cortisol will kick in, adrenaline will flood the sea and she'll pup on the shore. She might for a day or 2 hours, missing those periods. What it should have is about 5 suck sessions in a 12 period. Feed the pup 20 days. So what that means is any single feed she about that pup's body weight. So if you scare mum away from her twice, that will only reach 8% of its potential because it's only had 8 feeds instead of the 100. Literally every feed counts. So we get people going for self, trying to get close to animals. They look like little polar bear cubs, extremely cute and aesthetically pleasing, but we can do irreversible damage by approaching that mother-up bond. Obviously, they're in each other. The bottom photo here, this is obviously a very fat pup, and this is what it should look like. It'll slowly give all of that lanugo, and it'll start to scratch it away. It'll start at the head end, go to the flips. Amazing waterproof edge, its waterproof coat, and mark individual to that seal. Even when it goes through its annual molt, it will have the same underneath when its new pelt comes through. So it's a bit like birthmarks or tattoos human. They are there for life. Thank you, Kat. So this one is through. This one will show you a store. I think this one's taken in Northumberland. So they live very close to the edge. For a seal to be born, if you're a grey seal, you've got to be dry land, unlike the commons. It means the real is very, very valuable. You have the hide mark, which is strand line, which are your seed and your tetrasome badly. Between the dry at the top and the back of where the dunes wall is bio space. Very, very small. And then it completely hide, you won't born because it's just not good for spawns. It's starting to rupture, so it's capable of issuing a bite as soon as it's and it's got dentists on it, and those will grow and grow until you see like the skull passed around are capable of defending themselves. This is in Yorkshire, so this is my footage here, and it's showing Fossil. Fossil's one of our known mums, and Fossil is suckling here. The reason why I'm using a 600mm zoom lens there, so I am not close to the animal, which is why the camera's shaking. The animal still is and the reason why I'm filming is because right of way and right up to seal and do what they want to her. I'm trying to keep people back up around the seals. This is what we call rookery. A rookery is when you mums up, so it's a bit like and you see mums looking at all the there, and it's a bit like a mentality. One seat, they'll all go. What do you reckon the males are doing at the time during the mental process? Absolutely nothing. Males absolutely useless, apart from obviously giving birth, consummating things. They're rubbish, and you males do. The males are doing. Yeah, about to type when they're not rolling around doing. They are, and the reason why they're screaming is they're females. It's a where a successful male, you'll go on to pass on your genes, but most males will not. Okay, more than 90 people will never father pups, and it's the dominant, what we call beach masters, that get access to the females. A bit like a sort of pride of lions. They'll mate with everyone, they'll screw it out the way, and they'll look to themselves. If you're lucky, outside a male, a serving one, you'll come in and you might get a quick bit of nookie with one of the females. So the male will control a harem female, 20 or 30 strong, trying to breathe. He normally won't eat during this period because he's guarding all the females on the beach for any competitors. So it's quite brutal. I haven't put any seals in this because I wasn't delivering these sort of talks in schools. Seal sex, not normally consensual, okay, is how I put it. It's a little bit wrong. The females normally try to wade to the sea with her, so very romantic, I guess. The gestation period for a seal is around around 9 months of actual pregnancy, so similar gestation period to a human, but they have a couple of months where they can actually delay pregnancy, body condition improves. Because what will normally happen is she'll be in 70-20 days of milk, the pup's now getting fatter, and as she goes to the sea to try and get her own body condition up, the mate mates with her when she's at her weakest. While she's at her weakest, she's not really in a position to develop an embryo and start to get all the vital nutrients because she's in calorie deficit herself. So she puts it into stasis for about a month. It's the same thing a deer can do. There's only a few species in the world that can do it. And that way, her body allowed to recover, that she can then let the feed properly. So it's very, very good. I don't understand all science behind it, but you can reapers on it, and it's very, very clever. She will pretty much go from being pup to pregnant if the male. If she escapes, she might get a year off. You never know. In terms of animals, seals, normally you'll find the females live around 35 years if they're very, and then more around 25 years. And the reason why there's a difference between the males and females in terms of longevity is scratch between the males. They fight all the time for terror. They bring each other out. They more get infections, sepsis, just injuries as they get older. Try to do more. The thing about seals, if you see now on like the IUCN website, the International Union for Conservation of Nature, the rest I've heard of, you look at pandas, tigers, you would see seals are a least concerned species. But that's not actually true because that's only looking at one data stream. So when you see our banners and things, well, some say are globally seals, and we call them globally rare because whilst it's not globally rare on an IUCN rate, the numbers of those are actually quite low. If you were to look at grey seals, we've got around 40% of the grey seals here in the UK. It's about 120,000 seals. So the population of grey seals is just north of 300,000. That's 300,000 globally species. If I would say to you something like red squirrels you perceive are rare because there's more red squirrels than there are grey seals. If I was to say to you African elephants that have been decimated by the ivory trade, there's more than 450,000 African elephants. So there's more African elephants than grey seals. So some conservation bodies, we hold really vitally important populations here in the UK, and a disease or something was to ravage them, that can implication quite far and wide. So they are globally rare, are worth looking and preserving. as well as native to our country here in the UK, we've been listing with seal in the UK for millennia, and you can back to Neolithic times, and you can find obviously cavemen, etc., nomads have consuming meals, digs. So we've managed to keep them thousands of years, and we need to keep it there. Just in the water, this was a shot back. It just summarises a bit more of the headshot I talked about. Telling they do interact with each other in the water. This isn't me superimposed. This was a grey seal seen together. And look at the profiles on the head there. You can see the more bulbous nose on the grey seal and common or squished up cat shape. That was it from Cat's gone wandering. Just hit next, thanks. So you guys now know a bit more about the seals. Can you tell me how many common seals there are in that picture? Any idea? Don't worry about getting it wrong. 6. Yeah, 6 is what we have. So basically, 4, 5, 6. Those are quite a difficult photo because that's the only one in the camera, and not the rest are great. And so they will haul out the same rocks together. Generally, they like to keep apart and keep themselves. So you'll call a haul out common, haul out. This isn't really a common habitat. When I say a common seal habitat, it's because it's a rocky substrate. And you normally find common seals around estuaries and sandbanks. They prefer a little bit of softness under their bosom, whereas greys just throwing themselves over these rocks all day. So I mentioned we did have walrus, and this is 2 walruses that came to the UK, and it's important to talk about the differences in how the public perceived and how they were treated. So we've got Freya. So Freya, she came from the Netherlands. She was seen in the Netherlands. She was Germany. She was United Kingdom, Denmark, Sweden. I thought from Svalbard up in Norway, so very, very north. Freya was actually shot when she was in Norway, and some of you may have read about this at the time. And the reason why shot is concerned about safety. They couldn't shape her enough where she was in situ hauled out, and people were encroaching on her, and she's a large animal. She's got tusks, flips. She's capable of injuring someone. It's designed to go right up to her. This is a what looks like a salmon, I believe, this photo here. So Freya was called public outcry. There were 10 people that petitioned, and I won't be shooting anymore soon because it was made very, very badly. As a sort of we do in the UK, here we have Thor, who is a seal, a walrus that was seen all around the UK as well in various spots. He went to Netherlands, Hampshire, Northumberland, and then eventually returned back to Ireland. They're not the same one, injury on his flippers, although he doesn't have the same colour patterns on his paleo to identify him to an individual level. He has some sculling on him. Where I was living up in Yorkshire, what we actually did, the council did there, as he kept hauling out in the harbour on cobbled stones where people are launching boats and all sorts spilling out from the pubs at night, actually cancelled the New Year's Eve fireworks display because the fireworks were upstairs. So that is on how society can react depending on how you portray an animal. And it's portrayed very differently in different countries from the sea. And people are very scared of them. And also, as a society, we have quite a degree of speciesism here in the UK. We'll consume some animals and some while putting in. So I like to advocate for all animals, but we do big disparity in things are marketed around those, even low communities. But the walruses are very rare. It's extremely lucky one in the UK. They don't come very often. Clips, it'll just rotate pupping. But some of it will be new. It's just more to talk about that pupping process. So you can see the pup there feeding from the mammary, trying his best. The mum acutely aware of we are on a rocky substrate. Another pup here. If you see them more with the yellow with them, see the fluid that's out of the amniotic sac or bore that actually and then start to move. This is the state themselves into. So start peel back. That's going to start to come off. It must be incredibly itchy for them because you just constantly trying to scrape off all of that water. This pup now abandoned. It's starting to sniff on grass. The quicker it gets to the sea, the better. And it will see you. It's using up fat nerves. This is a mum with her in the sea, so a bit of a more concerned moment washing, hand washed out due to damage and those sorts of things. So then you can see her eye wide seeing. She wants it to swim a bit of a play, but she also buffers it from some of the ooze behind it to make sure that it doesn't get washed out. So dental care is strong up just for that really short period, unfortunately. And it is just what we call galumphing. That is the term for it. So obviously, about the difference sea lions and seals. Seals will gumph or tip along, and sea will modified flippers. They'll imprint as a mixture of vocalizations and as well. So a mother can literally wade through all the sea poo, which actually smells of fish and root, and it will go find its pup. That's what full molt. You can see a little bit of a little green there on the fur. Sometimes we cook them with a livestock mark. Might put on, and we mark their mortality and whose pup is whose. We want to make sure that if a pup is abandoned, we can try and get that rehabilitation, but it's too late. So this is sometimes a situation. We do a lot of tagging as well. So we don't do tagging, we record a lot of tag. On the left side is Skye. Skye is one of our most seen seals in Yorkshire. And the idea behind tags is it allows you to commit an animal in the wild or their progress. When you work for a rehabilitation centre, it costs thousands of pounds. They're just out of reach of grass charities. Flipper tags are literally, they used to be metal, now they're plastic. They're punched into the webbing part of the rib, and they don't normally use individual numbers. This one, Paul H, is Tynemouth Seal Hospital. So that's the Newcastle area that does some rehabilitation. You could have RI, Seal Rescue Ireland, and you can start to understand and goes on. It's really important for them from an efficacy perspective, the way they're raising seals, activity and getting it right. They'll often spend money reheal to get a seal from a pup that's been orphaned to about 35 kilos when released to the sea can cost normally about £3,000 to £8,000. So it's a lot of money. It has to be invested in the pup. If it gets released and no survival instinct, gets predated or swims to starvation, it's no good. The way we really get feedback is when, like the group, spot their seals and feed back to them that we've spotted their seal. And they're like, oh, you saw Darwin, you know, maybe it's not a good name. We saw Darwin and we thought he'd make it or wouldn't make it. And it's been 3 years since we released him in Bristol, and now he's seen on the Isle of Man. And it helps the rescue teams and rehab teams know what doing is having an impact. So if we go to the next one, and this shows you some of our case studies of ones that we've spotted. So we see quite a lot, and we're seeing an increasing number. I think in my volunteer, seen 32 seals so far. It's a record year for us. This is Waffle. This is what Waffle looked like when he was in rehab. Absolutely to die for, though he will take your hand off, but never be fooled. He was rescued in Redcar in North Yorkshire in 2021 at 15 kilos. Had lungworm. You get a lot of parrot bird and seals, the juvenile seals. So we would have a lot of medication running to rid him of those parrots. Released in Whitney Bay up near Newcastle and was recorded by us in 24. So he wasn't sick 3 years, then he suddenly popped up on our radar. And that's good for us to be able to feed back. We had Jordan. They've always got them rehab centers, so well, obviously they were going through a food theme. Sometimes it's films and Star Wars actors and all this. George Stubbs is, I think, the rubbishest seal I've ever seen. And this is the REA that would just name them after the people that found them, basically. George Stubbs found the seal, and it's not very fitting for this beautiful little chap. He found, he actually 1 mile inland, so he bumped a mile away from the sea, found on a rural roadside. Okay, so you see falls in. If I put on a seal, not emaciated, he's not stretched out. I can see his neck is head thing on him, and he's probably about a few days from dying. Okay, he was taken in East Winch, and he was released in the Wash in Norfolk on the East Coast, and he was seen by us in 2024. And 3 years then just suddenly cropped up, and you can see nice and clear. He all got his visual to there. So if you see a tag, don't risk disturbing a seal to get a tag. It's not that important, but if you've got optics like binoculars or a scope, feed it back to one of our groups. We get in touch via a WhatsApp group that we all share. Feed back to you some of the history on that seal and find out. These are some of the seals that we've rescued, tags that we've seen. I am based in York. So this is me here in York. This is Flamborough Head. This is obviously the Humber, Spurn Point. So this is the East Coast. All the tags have come from all these different centres. So over rehabilitation facilities in Yorkshire, we've seals from the, we've had seals literally crossing the whole of the North Sea. So when you think about animals, some of them are quite known to us and we see them week on week. And some of them very transitory, and they'll literally just forage off 100 miles and we might never see them again. Okay, so they literally come and go, but some of them come very far. Ever had on the East Coast so far is a seal from the West Coast, some limits into where they travel. However, some of our seals from rehab centres South Coast go over to France quite often. But ours are all what we call North Sea seal. Pupping, so I said we tried to look on the pups and the mothers, and we tried to work out if the mums are successful. Initially, just, I guess not like humans so much, but first-time parents are normally pretty rubbish at what they do, build up experience. Same with our mothers, they could look for an experience, get a bit more clued up as to how to raise pups. And they can get very, very successful, and you can see the same mother coming back and successfully raising pups year. We've got different ones here. Mixed Fortunes, these are two of others here. We've got Sea Claw. She pups in 2021, lost her pup 2022 to disturbance. And again, she had success in 2020, but some decimated our coastline in 2021 and wiped out a lot of our seals on the East Coast. So they literally, sometimes they make it and sometimes they don't. Mothers will always come back. Always come back up in the same spot. So it's a bit like turtles. When you've seen turtle videos, a turtle goes, nephalopatry is what we call it. The turtle will reach sexual purity, it comes back to legs, it lays on the same bone. So it's really, really cool. It uses the Earth's magnetic to find its way back. With seals, they'll always come up normally with about the same 20 meters is what we found. So the mums like that spot. Even if sadly it's the area, they still come and have it in the area. So one of our mothers that loves to lay her pup, and the footpath means she's going to have footfall all the time, which is obviously there for us trying to keep live. This is Karma. So Karma is sadly a story from a seal from Seal Island when I was over. So Karma found as white. So if she's a white pup beach, what species? Go coat. They watched her for days and days, 3 days, and no mum out to suckle the. Okay, so they thought she's been maternally abandoned. She's obviously not food yet because her teeth are only rupturing through. If she can get in, she's going to succumb. So they picked her up. They brought her in sanctuary, and you see her in the sanctuary here. She of her white, she molted off, and here got fish in the bub next to her, herring and sardine. That's enough. Really, really well. Whenever you work in a retail, you always do what morning. So the first person going to admit, etc. on the wear of the animal. Sadly, when we came and checked the kennels, one farmer had passed during the night. Now, whenever it passes away and it's a environment, it's a perfect opportunity to necropsy and to learn from it. You know, where heart issue, was it neurological, was it poor, what happened to that animal? As part of a necropsy, you always look inside the side of the animal. So they look inside the guts. All we could find in guts was the fish that we had been could literally be with us for a while. Sadly, she had short waiting for mother to come back and a mum coming to give her milk, started to investigate with. Now I've worked for the Conservation Society for 9 years and I'm going up for a new job now, working on marine pollution is life. So it means instead of natural shells, seaweed and fighters, you should have organic on a sea, oil-based and man-made plastic. And putting this in the bottom of her lower and packed crisp packet, and that crisp packet stopped her digesting all the nutrients that she did, and so that led to complications, and that's why she passed. A single crisp pack killed one of our iconic mammals like Karma the seal here. And I pick up a lot of rubbish over the years, and that's what I normally do, managing volunteers for Beach Clean. And when people talk about plastics, they often get just damaging them be, and also the longevity of them as well. So this is a packet from one of my beach in Yorkshire, and if I can get you to maybe have, see, there's a competition on there, you can see maybe what year the competition closes. First of all, really most you don't recognise Tudor Crisps as a brand, do you? I would imagine. 1976. Okay, so okay, there's obviously UV process, things are getting shown, and some people do in their marine environment. However, some of them, the longevity is huge. So, at you, it's just for a recycle. So, to learn how to recycle more, and I'm not going to talk about because that's of this talk. But obviously, with a few key bits of legislation, carry a bag in 24. We had cotton bud stems in 2019. We had single-use cutlery in 2020. We need to start thinking more of the items. They cause devastating impacts for some wildlife. A lot of solution, ingestion basically accumulates in your trophic web or your food web. So apex predators, these are whole predators. So when you went to the fishmonger's now and you ordered a fish supper, the fishmonger is the fish. So any of the plastic eaten by that fish is removed and you're just consuming the flesh. So it skips out in the food chain and you guys are safe. However, eel as a whole eats all the fish for whatever is inside that fish. Small degraded plastics, nerves, microplastics, that will accumulate in the animal. Our largest predators, which are normally our whale dolphins and porpoises, and our pinnipeds, our seals, get our bioacoustics. So really, really nasty stuff. Sorry, next. So we then got entanglement threats from marine. Got ingestion, entanglement. Entanglement is one of the most sort of emotive things you can ever have in a rescue an entangled animal. Really, really moving, really, really disturbing to things ever. So we've got a couple of cases. This is so this is a seal rescued, and this is how it sometimes be. I've got her pad markings, and I've seen it in this photo. This is after I've already rescued her. Still got the scar collar, the scar she's still building up, and she carry that or vicar's collar for life. What you don't want to do is jump on an animal that's entangled and find out in the wound you've already it free a while ago. So this is why we keep entanglement logs. We learn which ones need intervention, which ones are pending, which ones have been rescued before. So it's one of us. We know the cyber is good because we're seeing her at the. Some people, when you cut them free, how do you know it didn't just anyway, or how do you know it worked? We can still see our collared seals on our sites. And so we know that we haven't done too bad a job. In a perfect world, every seal would go rehabilitation centre, and that's what I would advocate. You rescue the seal with the entangled situation, take it to a veterinary place, and in the rehab, they would remove it, give it antibiotics, and heal the wound. Where I'm based in Yorkshire, it's impossible to do that because in the topography, we go in very deep ravines to get these animals, and we cannot exfiltrate and get out with an animal. It's just not possible. They won't fit in seal bags for those of you that are BDMR medics. They're too big, and therefore we have to just skid them in situ, treat some topical fluids, and let them go and hope. But normally they do really, Look at some of these are entanglements I've seals to give you an idea. Some of the things you can pass them. They've been there a lot, so they hopefully definitely free of infection. But I've got everything textiles like this. God knows what that is. People are delay, not a clue. This was a shipping bag, neck of a Grace, simple Amazon packaging. Other delivery companies are available, but we'll get it carefully and don't go into environment. And it's not just seals; they can go around the necks of anything that's elated. You see, there are a lot of monofilament line design fish, got very high break tension on it. So I can pull that now, and all that's going to happen is my hands are going to cut out trying to put. The seal gets wrapped up in these materials, monofilament, polypropylene, 6mm thick polypropylene. No chance. As a young seal, they're very curious and investigative. They'll invest things into their detriment. The young seal is still growing considerably. Got to go from about 15 kilos at birth, maybe up to being a 300 kilo mill. As it grows, anything that's marks, it grows to the wound, and they're literally the skin all around. It causes these horrible, painful wounds that must be absolutely excruciating for the animal. And unless intervention occurs, it's a very protracted decline. So normally you have an entanglement that's on a seal for years before it finally takes its life. So really, really. See, if you ever are on the shoreline, remove as many elongated things like possible to try and save the life of some of our wildlife. So the next slide will show you materials. Some of you might be with different seal rescues, and there's a number of social media accounts. Famous guys be OCN, which is Ocean Conservation Namibia. If any of you follow them online, they rescue fur seals in Namibia. Difference with the rescue, sometimes we get rescues saying, you guys need to learn from Ocean Conservation Namibia. They've got a nice flat sheet with a very small Cape fur seal that I could wing around with one hand, okay? We've got horrible grey eels that apart. We've also got specialised nets. What we have done is we've purchased one of the nets that you'll see Ocean Conservation have. Those nets are really, really good. They're a Kevlar weave. There's a woman over in America, in the States, and she makes those nets. They're about 800 quid a piece. So why you see them with medium in a the British don't have you, because the price point is high. However, the Yorkshire Seal fundraised for one. The benefit of one butterfly nets is I can scoop the lens, and because it's funneled down to, and now try not, and he can't move his flippers. This panel on the net, little zips, where I pull it, you can get access and having the business coming from to his perspective, amazing. The downside is, as you can see, that's of an inflatable seal. They're very large. Me going down the hill with one of these isn't practical for all the rescues. So that means some of the rescues you have to do with what you carry in your hands. You're engaging with an animal that might be 80 or 100 kilos and blood and is terrified of you. You have a sympathetic smile, some gloves and a towel normally. Voice. Have to try and do the best you can. So I'm going to play you a video now that's just sort of a collation of different rescues and some of the different techniques. But please don't critical. All these seals have survived, but sometimes it looks messy. No pretty eel rescue when it comes to entanglements. Before that slide, Kat's just pointed out to me this slide, and this shows you how seals get wrapped. So this is taken off the Farne Islands. And if you play it, if it plays, Kat. Oh, not that one. If you go back one. If you can play that video, if it does play, it shows seal investigating the line. Whoever's put this pot has put way too much slack rope on it. It only needs enough to adjust for the fetch of the blade and for the rise and fall. Seal, it's just inquisitive around. Literally, it turns the right way and it flips itself. If that had gone the wrong way, more wrap. It can either to surface. It's a mammal. It's an air-living mammal like us. It's up to drown, or it could have pot dragging around with it. These are what we call, when you get an animal with not just an entanglement, but an elongated entanglement, we have to even quicker, because they snag on the bottom when it's and they can't come up, they die cut. Anything with an elongated entanglement has a very short. Okay, so this video, no compilation rescue stuff. Please don't do this unless you're trained. There's a lot of running involved. Absolutely slip, nothing soft sand. Namibia. You have to through surf sometimes. You're trying to identify the seals around to bite you. Everything's going wrong, but you're trying. I throw a towel on it. Guess what? The test is. What do I then do? Oh, I just wing it and I just have to open it in. And so we had different that we've failed, like full goal nets. This is a towel on about a 7 seal here, really a net, but we did one. This is with the butterfly net, much easier. But it all depends on the situation. The seal is at the right time. Can you get any hands to it? Have enough medics? Not. Got look what you've got. Over 30 tangled seals, ranging anything from 10 kilos, 100 kilos, and some flying, and all need our help. That's the bit of a cloth that you have there. Actually, that's a bit of textile. Very easy rescue. Monofilament line also passed around on this one here, and that's some of the propylene that I passed around as well. Green propylene. That's a killer. We want to get that tray on. See that. This is some of our sprays we use, marking the seals with stock dye and monitors, except whether they actually scar up and heal. Bands are an absolute mare, and they can horrible distortions of the body. Sometimes we need scissors, pliers. With the dog frisbees that we've started seeing, they're really hard to get through. You need medic shears. You start to see some of the wounds, very, very grim. Obviously, we're looking for if you've got white like that, not good. Quite an infected seal. This is the net here. Rescue along like 80 kilos. Amazing, but it just costs too much money. So that's on the seal there, and I can down to the panel and great if you've got it in the place at the right time. It's free. And like a lot of them they absolutely hate you and they can wait away from you, as you'd expect. COVID, with masks on and stuff like that. You see the after the seal, that's a trailer there. I've left a towel on it and you'll go see. So like I said, at the moment, for example, in Yorkshire, it's reported 4 different entangled seals to me in the last 10 days. They're all new to our catalogue. They're new ones that are in error. So if we get a chance to get hands on them, we will, but it's all a case of right place, right time. Thanks, Kat. So some of our is basically I run a Yorkshire group. What happened is I was a BD medic. I moved to Yorkshire to work for the Marine Conservation. And every seal rescue I was getting out to, the main cause seal disturbance, people getting too close, can shred its belly, trying to perceived threat. So rather than just dealing with the fallout of it, the first aid and triage of the animal, we decided we need to start educating people on how to advocate and how to view wildlife effectively, causing such irreversible damage. So like stewarding. Stewarding is extremely time-consuming because you have to stand where the seals are for as much time as you can. So our stewards might go there for 8 hours with their packed lunch and their binoculars with a high vis. Everyone that comes down to engage in them binoculars, try and bring the wildlife close to them, but you try and stop off drones or let dog off the lead or doing something that might harm the seals. So our stewards are amazing. Our stewards will run the organisation and we're included paid at the Seal Group. The sites that protect are extremely rugged and diverse. So these are the sort of habitat I get down into to rescue, which is why we haven't always got the net with us. So we look at and these are call-outs. They're sites where if you wanted to encounter a mammal, it's almost guaranteed to be there. And our sites vary. At some of our sites, I might have 10 seals a day. At some of our sites, I could get 500 a day. How disturbance happens will affect on any given day. You turn up to a site and see no seals there, I could have recorded the day before, and you know it's because something bad. Seals to learn about some of these will learn it. So if you had a dog off feed, the site, a seal head to the sea, that's stampede, that's disturbance. What you'll find is in there'll be reduced number area because they thought, sod this, I'm going to go somewhere around and find another spot to haul out in. So it can actually affect tourists and how much see by small demographic society behaving irresponsibly. Issues we have erosion. So in Yorkshire we have the fastest eroding cliffs in Europe. So I have a lot of landslips, which makes it very difficult to operate on. When we've got a coastal path, suddenly it's away in pieces, which you have to and divert the coastal path around it. Also means for the seals living in that very finite piece talked about between Hyde Mark and the back of the beach, they have their pups. We've lost our seals to landfall or landfall, which just engulf the pup. And this is one of its, and it used to be very, very quiet. And the advent of social media, it's become absolutely horrendous, tagging shit. TikTok. Result of social media, sometimes we get parking erosion, masses and masses of people going to the site, and that's what's causing our mortality. In a perfect footpath, but very hard to get a footpath if it's a public right of way, and you'll always get those slurs in society into their God walk it anyway. Of the damage they cause. So we can try and look at things sort of just like loopholes, like very difficult. Perfect example of human interaction was COVID. So when COVID, I was based up in Yorkshire, and this is perfect opportunity for showcase that humans affect timbers because everyone was on lockdown, and the only people that could travel was within five kilometres of your house. So I close to the seal colony, so I came to the seals and we spoke to the police that we were still doing our. However, members of it shouldn't be travelling in further afield to visit the seals. And we'd see a quite clear correlation that seal numbers increased when human numbers were down, and as soon as social distance started to equal, seal numbers started to go down at the site, numbers went up and everyone was lawing again. So humans were definitely having a negative, and we reviewed all the different causes of disturbance, tallying information, feedback to Council, the Land National Trust, national parks, to show what happens on their land. But everything disturbing seals, from photographers and instruments, the walls, top silhouettes, they those above, people hunting fossils, aircrafts, watercraft, stand-up boards, powercraft like jet skis, etc. When we did some of our social science, started to of York about whether they honestly seen seal disturbance before. Anonymised, people could be back and say, you know what, I've disturbed them. I'll hold my hand up and really. Got staggering coming back Yorkshire that people admitted to disturbing seals. Over half of them have seen seals disturbed. Case. What you often feel is people will it because they think the impact is negligible. It's split. Yeah, I wanted my photo. Yeah, this seal moved. Went back to the sea. Back in a minute. And it can back in the next, and they feel it. Comes down an hour later, wants the same photo. Someone else comes the day and wants the same photo. What happens with our seals is we basically calorie deficit. What should be my big funky sausage, suddenly doing gym sessions back and forth over 3 meter inside of sharp rocks, and it's burning calories more than it's consuming in the sea. So every calorie for a seal made it shift a little bit. It can get cold water shock. Its blubber levels. It just becomes negated. So a lot of seals you compare to where their protective fencing are skinny and ragged, not really rotund the way they should be. So think about the impact you're having on seal. Obviously this is a bit of a diving community here, and we're here in a dive shop. Diving impacts the seals. So what I would say when you dive is I obviously as an instructor for 22 years, seen a lot of seals diving, never when I go doing. See, oh, great, you know, it'll come, it'll sort of be inquisitive out for a bit. Jot, move on, because otherwise what happens is seals really distracted. They're just like labradors. They'll start nibbling your fin, cuddling you, doing lots of stuff when they should be free to get their creep. Don't go where they advertise seal tricks, because it means if you're in water at known seal sites, and it's going to be part of disturbance. We don't want to. So just think about that and see how to do that best possible. Obviously, when you see them, amazing encounter, get your photo quick, move off, and they'll go about their business. Issue disturbance, I'm going to show you in a minute. It'll probably make you read with some of the things people do, but it gives you an idea. Everybody loves a selfie with the seal. That wakes up. The reason seal is even let someone get that close to it is because it's already underweight and its senses are not as acute as they should be. Some of them even become habituated. They're too tired to try and escape a perceived threat anymore. And then when they get a real threat, like a lead, end up getting a negative in sort of puncture from the animal. So they just get really slow. We get people all over sets, people looking at fossiling, and we get a lot of attacks as well. This dog did 4 of my seals. It punched 4 of my seals on the beach because it didn't have a reef for the dog. So when you walk your dogs coast areas familiar with, because you might encounter a seal, and obviously do a bit of research before you, and obviously buy a dog that you can actually control. So we'll play this. If you play that, I'll give you a little bit of a footage. Oh, and the first, oh, she's gone way back. She's drifted. The first bit there is someone just touch a seal TikTok or whatever. Hashtags, emojis. And obviously, you know, you're just kicking the animals up and they think it's fun. People throw stones at seals. People are having pics out on where my seal out is. And all the periphery in the water in the top left hand, you can see them there. They've all had shifts just because people put their own needs for the animal. We're here as visitors. The animals live, need this space. It's critical for their livelihood. Why are these seals stampeding to the sea? Because their phone, they crept too close. So these are the things I do. Drones, the person following them with the drone and trailing them into the water. These are the sort of things I like to mitigate action groups. So we are go and inform them. We never just watch, we all try to can. This was quite a famous one, so this gone to the BBC 6 o'clock news. This was a jogger. He told our stewards to F off, so and then he went running through 300 seals, including one pup that got crushed, all this going over it. Okay, so it obviously made the news because he didn't really care, stopped, hand tips, but you know what? I want to run on that on the beach. Our stewards gave him he's just 50 metres away that wouldn't done any damage to the seals, but again, where it's right to do what they want to do. So subsequently, we lost one of our pups that's in the dead on our beach. Really sad stuff. So we coexist with these seals. Like I said, live with them for millennia. We've just got to sometimes just session, put your dog on a lead, fly a drone on that particular beach, walk a little bit to the side, go to dive sites where you know seals occur, just let them occur naturally around you. And all these things can help our amazing wildlife. You can skip to the next slide. It's all just depressing, that man. Emaciation, this is what happens to seal underwater. This was who was rescued when I was rescued. And what tells us sick? Remember we talked about what the features were healthy seal. So we've got the body condition, so I can see her here. What a face. The eyes, he hasn't got the patches, so she's dehydrated, hungry, and she's dehydrated, small wounds, and I can see all of her body there. This is her after rehab, and you can see that's the way it should be. Nice visual specks on her and a nice body. So next time you're on the coast and you see seals, you guys have a better understanding about whether seals in sick or not and how it's doing. This is the mortality rate, and why I started the group in Europe is just because we lose a lot of our pups. We can lose sometimes what I call pre-weaned mortality. So this is not the until its birthday. This is surviving from birth to the leaves at 21 days old. More than half of my seal pups because of that androgenic disturbance. And it's difficult. Quite on our peers, we up and down all the time. And most people that volunteer these days normally retire because they're more time hands hard on their legs. So if I haven't done on site a particular day, I could lose a pup on one site. Obviously, I'm asking you guys to cover the site because it's all, but get involved if you can. So this I talked about with amniotic sac. This yellow coat here on a newborn pup. You can see the size, but she's going to lose all that body weight. She starts to get that pup fetch milk. Here's one that was still on, and you can see its little flips is still curved up in the amniotic sac there. We get quite a lot of stillbirths at our site, and one of the reasons for miscarriage could be when they're stampeding dead in water. So on my creek, definitive answer for this pup does, but we do pups that are born due to fright. And you see there, obviously, a dead seal pup as well. This was a very famous one. This is close home. I didn't really this. So Freddie the seal, Barnes Hammersmith. So Freddie was a very big publicised. So Freddie was a seal, and he was actually a known seal because he had gone to a rehab centre, been tagged. So we knew at Hammersmith and around that area, and he got attacked by a dog. It was quite a prolonged. It's about 4 minutes in length. During a pit bull's dog, not to Villa pit bulls, the pit bull sort of staffy, whatever it was basically going for it and was detecting a lot of puncture wounds. Sadly, Freddie got to his ligaments really hard for a wild animal. If we ever get something like a broken jaw, we can't plaster cast it or set it, so the animal is euthanized welfare straight away. And Freddie, unfortunately, ligament damage that basically he was immobile. He was used welfare grounds. What it helped to do, though, is it helped to get around because publicised so much that disturb made illegal in the UK. And currently, when I how people treat animals and the species and where we eat them or we infect others, there's definitely a disparity in our legislation on animals we protect. If we go out now on the River Thames, we were to disturb some on a jet or a standard, we could be prosecuted. Cetaceans are protected from disturbance and harassment. With a seal, you are not protected. You could walk out in Yorkshire and 100 of my seals stampede them to the water and cause them all horrific injuries, and there's account for it. So trying to do is we're trying to make a level. We're trying to amend the 91 Wildlife and Countryside Act that will include pinnipeds as well as cetaceans. So you'll see prosecutions, fines, warning, etc. So it just. But at the moment, we have that. And that's where we grey line, we're trying to enforce things. We have Operation Seabird, which is an initiative with the RSPA eel groups to try and make people more aware of the damage cause. There's nothing you can actually do. The only times I've got a prosecution on seals, we got a prosecution about 2 years ago, for someone shooting at. Because they were shooting at seals, it came under the Mammoth because it wrecked wounding with intent. That was the only time. So it wasn't distance related, it was to do. It was another stupid thing that I deal with. for sometimes is with them to the police, if the police are bored, to think outside the box. We can't prosecute them for disturbance. But what about anti-social behaviour? Made the little family cry because they've disturbed all the seals. And so sometimes we people anti-social behaviour orders and get them moved on from areas because of the impact on the wider community. So what we're hoping for is legislate loophole. And that seal allies, your seal group, all the other 12 partners are trying to do. We're trying to check the law. We also do one of the seal gets. So this is, you know, horrible to look at. This is an entangled seal that's the entanglement didn't get to in time. If we find them, they're out in the right space, haven't got capacity, we just don't make. Seal had a protracted decline, how skinny it is, couldn't probably sepsis. So we can't rescue all, and we need to try our best. This video will give you an idea of stewards face, including myself during Storm Arwen, absolutely in the pupping period. So it's not the weather you want to have during the pupping. The pups for grey seals are born in winter months, so generally October to January, and that means they're at the time of UK weather. Normally, waters are quite mild, but now what might be a 1 in 10 year storm event is happening almost annually. So we're getting periods of real that coincide. All of our dogs washed away from their mothers, and they all washed about down the coast, and they all got built up in this little den, and the mum couldn't find them because this was the sea foam that I was heading Wade to find those pups. So you're trying to mums to relocate to re-find their pups, but they can't hear the vocalizations and they're nowhere near them. And so what you end up, depressingly, end up with because they're starving, and you end up with gulls coming and taking the ice of them because they're the quickest, softest to scavenge. And I'm going to vilify gulls because herring declining this species, but that's just nature. Managed to get reunited. Fortunately, because Storm Arwen hit, all the at capacity were taking on board sea, so a lot of them got euthanized because there's no hospital space. If you liken it to the NS in COVID, you know, not enough ventilators, people die. So Storm Arwen was bad. See, Northumberland, they lost 100 pups in 24 hours. So you can lose a lot. These storms are becoming more frequent. Not talk about climate change. Obviously it's real, believe it or not, it's real. It affects animals, and so we need to think about how we're going to mitigate change ourselves. Thanks, Kat. So we started doing signage. What we found, there was a lot of signage around the UK different. You could go to Cornwall, and it might say keep 100 metres away from a seal. You could go to maybe Edinburgh, and it will say keep 10 metres away from it. And there was consistency. What we wanted to try and do was make a uniform sign that anywhere in the UK and practice. So all together, including the Yorkshire Seal Group, we helped to design the infographic, and this is the infographic that basically goes up anywhere. So it can go up a wall where you might have seals off the slipway, it can go up over seal haul out sites, and it's a really infographic designed for anyone that's got literacy levels above about 7 years old. It basically breaks it down into 3 level disturbance. So this is how we record the same as BDMLR, Cornwall Seal Group Research Trust. A level 1 disturbance is a seal looking at you. It might not sound like much, but a seal looking at you means it's now aware of you. It's now aware there's an species near it. It doesn't know what you're doing. It doesn't know how you're going to behave. Instead of sleeping and getting its rest, it's now agitated. So it's a bit like coming and waking you up in the night all the time. You're shattered for work the next day. You're losing calories. You've got anxiety all the time. That's what happens. So level 1 is seal looking at. You'll see a lot of footage. Cameramen love a seal looking at the camera, and they'll take pictures. Even Kat by me, because Kat ties this talk with pictures that I wouldn't have used on social media of seals looking at the camera. Now, that was against my photo policy. Seals aware of the camera, disturbed. So that's level 1. Like I said, they're a bit quick and they escalate really, really quickly. Level 2 is our amber. The seals become so agitated, started to move around a bit. What's he doing? His dog off feed? What's going on? And they're shuffling, they're fidgeting. They haven't got way to the sea, really starting to mess up. And then it goes further, and then you what we call a level 3, which is a stampede. And a stampede is when they go to the sea, and they go to the far, and they literally don't really care about their welfare. They climb over rocks, over each other, crush each other, get lacerations, and then move to the sea. They get cold water shock because they've been warming up, just like a reptile in the sea, build their body Sometimes molting their fur takes a lot of calories to do, and then unexpectedly forced into the cold North Sea or the Irish or the English Channel, which is not what we want. So there are levels of disturbance. It literally goes looking at you to shuffling, dabbing into the sea. And that's what we try and get across to visitors so they're aware of the implications that they need to take. We've obviously got the do's and don'ts, which are obviously don't fly drones, don't feed seals, don't get close, etc., etc. And it works really, really well. The benefit of the sign is we managed to get it endorsed by DEFRA, the Department of Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, so one of our government agencies, and it's the first DEFRA. This is the practice that should be done in the UK. And this 100 metres away. That's what we would say, at least 100 metres. I would always say more. So bring the wild closer with optic. We went one step further in York, and we got the police on board and said, just put a logo on some of our signs to scare people a bit more, the action should be having. We're trying to get them to do things naturally, but not. So the harbour here, this is a scar, and you just loved out on the cob and just fall asleep there. Come 11 o'clock at night, all the pubs are turning people out, the drunk people going for selfies and throwing chips at the seal and all that stuff. So what we did was we made A-frame signs, and the A-frame signs we erect, and the police and harbour officers could put them up, and it tells people that, you know, 101 and report it an animal welfare, and the police might come, and also it just puts people doing what they do. So until we've got the law in place, we can call the police, but I mean they're going to do as we make them do, and that's not necessarily because the motivation is it's high perspective in terms of how they prosecute people. So I've got the flyers here, so if you're taking those flyers, share those as well afterwards. So we do school groups, obviously not down here, but these sorts of talks we do to schools, and we teach people with inflatable seal, and we try to get the next generation thinking a bit more how to live seal safely. We work with ranger teams, we work with corporate groups, and we obviously do a lot of free talks as well. So we do at Yorkshire is free, try and get people to peacefully and coexist with the seals. We do a lot of publicity. Some people in what you say. So if I'm talking Sun, it's not going to be how I want it, or the Star to the Time Telegraph, it'll probably be a bit more balanced. It is, but that was some stuff. So more seal selfie. To me, say people shouldn't go so close to a seal, it's going to be abandoned. But it sounds very dramatic. They like the reader to be there. You add a bit of drama and jeopardy, and they. But we do as much as we can. So we were in BBC News. We should be BBC News actually tomorrow, but it'll be in Look North. So if you're in the Newcastle area, you'll see it, and that's about Atus Cane. But we get a lot of coverage considering we're a small, very good recruit, and we've managed to get our stuff going global as well, which is really, really important. Thanks, Kat. This is our latest campaign. So this is one that's in the news around the Newcastle and Yorkshire tomorrow. It's the Flying Ring campaign. So flying rings are extremely detrimental. This is at Flamborough here. This is one of my lead volunteers, Claire. Shops, trying to get the shops through it. There's a lot of entanglement cases with flying rings thrown on beaches, discarded or lost, and then into the sea. They're the perfect size to go in the never. Consequently, the seal has a protracted decline. We've got in Yorkshire that does be around its neck fully. If you were down to Cornwall, they've got 30, I believe it is, down in Cornwall. They've got a lot, and accessible cruise where they can't to them. So we don't want to stop people on the beach. We're advocating, we want people to buy solid frisbees, the whole field, and not the ringed frisbees. So to get legislation is really, really difficult. Obviously, the carry bag charge, because of the ingestion of marine, such as got the cotton buds and the plastic ones, because finding so many parts inside animals and tests as well. This thing, it's not ingested. So because it's not ingested, it's to legislate against. It's really, really difficult. So what we're doing, we're trying to people to ask them to stop something different. We can go with a call letter, say, this is why I'm doing it, do you mind selling from product instead? And we're having some success with some shops removing them from Hill and some of them not. Tesco's, for example, and Pets at Home have removed them, and a lot of small retailers well, but so that is what we are trying to do at the moment. Get this sorted. We did have a big petition going. The petition was doing, but Rishi Sunak announced it. Snap. All the petitions all get, and they start again under a government. So I think we might revisit under Sir Keir Starmer's further line. thing we really want to try and sort out. We do beach art. He's one of our amazing bists, and he does stuff at angles in what my mind comprehend, and we there with rakes and we help him piece these things together. So I think if you play the cat, it shows a drone footage, not tilted. It does have a license to fly, and you'll see impact. Obviously, it was 6 high, but it allows you to get messages across. And this, I think, is about the pay, but we've done ones about urban, ocean, and all sorts of things. So it's a great way to get something visual on the beach that covers demographic. Whenever we're talking about publicity, I'm writing to the Sun, I'm only going to get a type of person. If I'm writing the Times, I'm only one sort of person. Whenever you get on TV or you go to public, it's like every section of society is there, and whether they want to hear or not, they hear what I jabber about. Most people are not useful, love sandcastles and stuff as well. That's raking away. It takes a long time to make a bit. And we've heard some future ones. But yeah, look, BDMLR volunteers in there to work quite close to BDMLR. But of the scale of it. This is Barbara. For those of you who don't know, Barbara between Bridlington and Whitby. It's in the middle of our patch. So it's from the Humber up to the Dessie. That's where right out. But it's all gone so quickly, and I feel bad for Fred designing them all. He designs them on his computer at home and knows the angles thing. He's very talented, and he takes no payment. He does a lot of messages for WWF, climate change, but that's Scarborough Beach. And then it's like we do a lot of fundraising. I'd be lying if I wasn't hoping that some of you might evening always like to fundraise. Got a QR code. If anyone wants to scan the QR code, it will take you to the website. I think donate from £1 upwards. All that goes into what we do. We get people runs, we get people do arts, crafts, anything from visiting schools, the fuel we need to cover, drive school, the bibs and people optics. Everything has funded some way, and so we are a organisation trying to get by. That is it for me. Thank you very much for listening. I understand that's probably been longer than what you anticipated coming to talk. Also on social media, we are youthseals.org. We've got a website, if you're ever our way and you want to volunteer in Yorkshire, do. And if you follow Deal Alliance, you can also see which organisations might be more love to you, so you don't travel too far from a car, and you can contribute to in your local area. But if anyone's got any questions at all, or stunned you all with much information. Yes? Hybrids. There has been talk of hybrids, yeah, but see hybrid. I believe there are a couple of Ks, yeah, but don't quote me. I believe to Sue Say. Sue Say is one of the, she recently MBE for Sue Say runs a group trust. And so Sue Say is one of the people that I look to if I was after advice on seals, basically. So she's very knowledgeable, and she does a lot of catalogue work. They know all the seals, more can track them back for like 25 years of these females having folk hubs set up Ormond Coast. They're way more advanced than what we are at, it's only 5 years. I believe there are some good cases, but I haven't seen anything like that. Our commons tend to snitch each other. The greys are more play, go up and inquisitive, they're like the sort of, then common seals like the corgi, snapping away from me and sort of not interested. So I'm seeing any rompy pompy questions. So right, no, thank you for coming, guys.
In the Thames, there's been queue. Like, there's one like 6 lots up all the way at Betsy.
Yeah, they will travel. Not normally. So normally when they travel upstream,
You say apply.
yeah, this point when they travel upstream, it's normally because they found quite a reliable fish source, and so don't like. Seals are a Marmite species. Everyone likes cetaceans, and no one wants cetaceans to come to any harm. Seals can be loved or loathed depending on how they've been, present. So we do get negative interaction on seals, some certain demographics in the fishing community, fishermen. And so we find a source that's reliable, they capitalise on it, as I do. You know, if you're a human suddenly open up a Greggs on the corner of your road, you're going to use Greggs more than before the Greggs there. So it's that sort of, so yeah, they can sometimes be relocated. So if we think they're decimating fish or they're causing a lot of problems where we think a threat might be posed to the someone's going to try and cull something, we can relocate to other areas them away. But generally, they're allowed to swim up as they can go up rivers. They're not a water species. You'll only find more commons stream rays. Anything else?
Where's, so you mentioned, you know, dive sites and make laws that you kind of put in places where there's not so much interaction. So either say on the coast, you should Norfolk, Lancashire. So where do you get information on your places?
Yeah, I mean, like, you could talk about North and sort of Hawes Gap, which places like it, you know, they have thousands of pups a year, way more than what we'd have in Yorkshire. They're managed by the Wildlife Trust, so Lincolnshire Wildlife Trust. They've erected fences, car parks, interpretation. They manage to police it a bit more. There's also MO range, because it's a defence, it's a bombing range. No one walking on want to be shot or blown up. So there's some areas where you can go see seals quite reliably. If you go to Norfolk, it's you have them there because they're habituated to the fact that the fence is only this high and you can over it in an instant. And I've over it there before. But yet the seals will come up and they will literally lie against the foot through the little neck. You know, they'll have their pup right there in front of, because they know year on year that no one climbs the fence. Whereas seals are on edge all the time. So you can research places like Norfolk and find our seal safe site. With diving, there's no diving place that I could direct you to. Dive centre or tribe is go to seal haul out, or we're going to dive a place where it's going to rest. That means, you know, you're going to get what you want. So like if I'm diving, I just dive generally, and if I seal, great. Don't go with this sleeping or punching, definitely. And you can also from the bulls, because the bulls and the beach marten want you there, and there's a chance to get bitten or harassed up in yourself. Yeah. But places like the Farn and Lundy are obviously two of the most famous places in the UK for diving with seals. I mean, don't dive there. Choose charter carefully and make sure they're going and drawing at the seals specifically. But yeah, chances are if you're at Lundy or a place, then we're going to have seals come and chat. Yeah. No extra questions, guys. I'll leave it there. I'll take off this little Janet Jackson microphone and then they can stop live streaming. We love video. I've got flyers here if you'd like to take, and I'll collect in all metro rubbish and discoveries that I've handed out. And then if anyone does want to donate, the code's there, but I'm not obliged. I'm here anyway, and thank you for your listening.
Cool.
Rabbit on the hill.
Thank you so much.